The Enterprise is in orbit above Nimoy 3. Below, on the surface, the landing party is in the Grand Temple of Arg. The captain and his first officer, along with other crew members, are waiting for the leader of the Nemonians, King Velcro, who has called on the Federation ship to ask for help. Among them is Lieutenant Keegan, department head of the science team, Lieutenant James, chief security officer, Lieutenant Tyler, main navigation officer, and Lieutenant Kaylee, lead communications officer. The king enters. Lieutenant Tyler notices that he smells like cabbage.
"Please, help us,"
he said in a weird old man voice.
"You must help us, Captain. Someone has broken into the Grand Temple and befouled our sacred statue of Arg. And now our population is very sick. Everyone has explosive diarrhea. We've had it all week long."
"Yes, we'll do everything possible for you and the people of Nimoy 3,
the captain tells him. Lieutenant Keegan scans the sacred statue. "Captain, Mr. Spock, there seems to be nanoprobes, small microscopic robots covering this artifact," he exclaims.
"Fascinating, and there seems to be a biological residue as well."
Spock was always one-upping Lieutenant Keegan, but Keegan knew that Vulcans are just nerdy like that. The landing party prepares to leave. Lieutenant Tyler gathers up samples of air, water, and soil from the temple floor. Lieutenant Kaylee downloads the security footage from the temple's cameras, and Lieutenant Keegan seals up the sacred statue to bring it to the ship for studying, while Lieutenant James takes scans of the temple and the surrounding areas. Back on the ship, the group begins their mission's tasks. Keegan works with Dr. McCoy in the sickbay to analyze what is on the statue. Kaylee has reviewed her downloads and discovered a section of security footage that was altered but has an image of the possible perpetrator. James works with Mr. Spock to analyze the scans, and they discover an ion trail leading away from the temple into the atmosphere, while Tyler hangs out on the bridge playing computer games. Later, Captain Kirk calls a meeting to discuss everyone's findings. Keegan tells the group that the nanoprobes were carrying the Simia virus.
The Simia virus was a genetically created bioweapon used by the Kitago army to make their enemies sick. It has not been seen for several years. Fascinating.
Keegan hated how Spock always said fascinating. Tyler tells the group they found footprints and hair strands that match the Kitago species in the temple. Kaylee shows them the video that she enhanced, and you can see a member of the Kitago, monkey-like in appearance, but she doesn't know who exactly it is. James adds that the ion trail of the departing vessel he found headed for Quadrant 2, and there is a list of possible planets that the ship may have gone to.
Lieutenant Tyler set a course for Quadrant 2. We'll follow the path and see where it takes us. Let us continue to try to find a cure and the identity of that mysterious invader," the captain says.
Scotty, the head engineer, explains that the engines will be running at full power for the long trip, but that he couldn't change the laws of physics. He also said it in a thick Scottish accent, so nobody really knew what he had just said. Tyler brought the Enterprise at Warp 8 to the Romulan Star Empire's homeworld. Kaylee opened a transmission to the office of Praetor Talaping, but she was very rude and stated that they would never help a filthy off-worlder. Tyler then set course for Kronos, the Klingon homeworld. When they got there, Kaylee tried to speak with Chancellor Muga of the High Council, but he said some bad words in his alien language and hung up on them. Klingons are jerks. Meanwhile, in sickbay, Keegan and McCoy have exhausted all possibilities. They can't find a cure for the Simia virus without a fresh sample. They would need to find the Kitago responsible. But good news, Lieutenant James has run the image of the possible terrorist against all known criminals of the Federation, and they may have his identity. Dr. Maurice Evans, a scientist, and clearly an evil one at that. He has the death sentence on 12 systems. Good job, the captain tells him. In just that moment, Kaylee receives a transmission from Starfleet. A security force from Alpha 5 has caught one of Dr. Evans' known accomplices, General Walken, and they are transporting him on the prison ship Landau to their moon-based penal colony. The captain tells Tyler to set course to rendezvous with the Alphan prison ship Landau. Suddenly, Orkian space pirates drop out of warp and attack the Enterprise. The ship goes into red alert. Defenses screens are raised. The ship takes heavy fire as the pirate ships attack, and the crew tumbles around the halls and engine room while the command team is tossed about on the bridge because no one wears seatbelts. Lieutenant James operates the phasers, but the ships are too fast. But Lieutenant Tyler fires several photon torpedoes and with his video game skills destroys the ships. Sometime later, the Enterprise meets with the Alphen prison ship Landau. After beaming over to the ship, they meet with the commander of the vessel, Captain Koenig, who takes them into the cell bay. As they walk down the hall, they pass other villains. An Andorian gunrunner, a Terran who sold black market kryptonite, a creepy guy in a bathrobe, and a Gorn who was caught kicking puppies. And a Travolta. Let's not even talk about what he's done. I might throw up. Finally, General Walken. The security grid is lowered, and they enter. Keegan asks the general, "Where is Dr. Evans?" Tyler yells, "Tell us where Dr. Evans is now." James then screams, "You better tell us or I'll shoot your ugly monkey face off." James needs to switch to decaf. Finally, Kaylee says, "Please tell us. I'll be your friend. I'll give you a cookie." General Walken replies, "Oh, a cookie for me? Wowie, wow, wow, wow. You know I love cookies, so I'll tell you exactly where the doctor is." As you know, Kaylee says, everyone loves cookies.
Later, at another meeting, the ice moon of Shatnar in the Canine Nebula. Fascinating.
There he goes again, Keegan thought. The captain explains that they'll have to travel in a shuttle to avoid being detected. A large ship would cause disturbances in the nebula that may be picked up on scanners. They will also have to land several miles away from the coordinates and travel by foot to sneak in. Once inside, they have to get Dr. Evans and, most importantly, a fresh sample of the Simia virus. They board the shuttle with Lieutenant Sulu at the helm and take off for the ice moon of Shatnar. "Oh my, here we go," Sulu says. They travel along into the nebula, and once they are planet-side, the team heads out into the snow. They walk for a long time, long time, through the ice and the snow and more ice. The place is very cold. Kaylee makes a snow angel. They finally find Dr. Evans' secret lab and head in. At the perimeter, they see several guards. They sneak up, knock them out, and then slip into the ventilation shaft. Cliched as it may seem, that's what they do. Once inside, they see the horrible experiments that Dr. Evans has been doing. Various cells and tubes hold twisted, horrible beasts and unknown, crazy-looking creatures. There's even a Cation beast from Shatan 7, looking like it's been given serious grumpy pills. Keegan sees at the far end of the lab containers with the virus. They sneak along, but one of the creatures in a tube starts barking and chirping and just in general making a bunch of weird noises. Dr. Evans spins around and sees the Federation team. "You shouldn't be in here," yells Evans. He pulls a remote and activates his Hothbot. They're very dangerous. The alarm goes off, and some of the doctor's henchmen enter the room and begin to shoot at the group. The Hothbot moves forward and jumps onto Tyler. James and Keegan pull their phasers and begin to return fire. Lots of noise and explosions and yelling. Dr. Evans yelling out things like, "How dare you!" and "You'll never take me alive!" and the typical, "I'll destroy you all!" just making a big show of it all. But, unseen by anyone, Kaylee has reached the table with the virus samples and has grabbed one of the containers. Dr. Evans sees this and heads towards her, yelling more threats. Just then, as he's crossing in front of the Cation beast cage, Tyler pushes the Hothbot off and into the cage's release panel. The Cation beast leaps out and devours the doctor. I said, leaps out and devours the doctor. In the end, they saved the day. Dr. Evans was stopped. The Pneumonians were cured, and the sacred statue of Arg was cleaned and returned. And Keegan, James, Tyler, and Kaylee all got commendations. And cookies, because you can't eat a commendation. Next time on an all-new episode of Starship Away, the crew heads to the colony on Advil 9 and faces off in a face-to-face fight with a green-faced alien that eats the faces of its victims.
As the mayor of Advil 9, I declare this colony doomed. Seriously.
He's dead, Jim. Can Keegan, James, Tyler, and Kaylee save the colony?
Your plan is highly illogical.
Tune in to find out who gets eaten last.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.